In every generation, there are people who rise above the noise, who defy the impossible, and who leave behind legacies that echo through history. They are not superhuman. They are people just like us, who faced fear, doubt, and failure, but who chose to stand firm in their vision. Imagine Nelson Mandela sitting alone in a prison cell for 27 years, with chains on his hands, but freedom burning in his heart. Imagine Mahatma Gandhi, a frail figure dressed in simple cloth, standing unarmed before the might of an empire, and yet bending it to his will. Imagine PTI Chairman Imran Khan, a cricketer turned reformer who turned personal glory into a lifelong mission of service and leadership. And imagine Martin Luther King Jr. standing before thousands, declaring that he had a dream so powerful it still shakes the foundations of injustice today. What unites them? It's not wealth, it's not privilege, it's not an easy path. What unites them is vision, resilience, and the refusal to surrender to despair. Stay with me in this journey, because as we dive into their stories, you'll see how their lessons aren't just about history, they're about you, right now. By the end of this video, you'll have the wisdom of 4 great leaders guiding your own battles, your own dreams, and your own purpose. Chapter 1, Nelson Mandela, From Prisoner to President. Let us begin in South Africa, a land once divided by walls of injustice so high it seemed impossible to tear them down. In that land lived a young man named Nelson Mandela. He was born into a world of inequality, a world where skin color dictated destiny. Yet, instead of accepting his place, he chose to challenge it. Mandela's early life was not marked by riches or privilege. He was a boy from a rural village who studied law, but quickly realized the law was designed not to protect people like him, but to oppress them. And so, he became a fighter, first with words, then with actions, and finally with sacrifice. In 1964, Mandela was sentenced to life imprisonment for daring to demand equality. He would spend 27 years behind bars. Think about that, nearly 3 decades of his life, gone. Most of us lose hope after a few months of hardship. Imagine 27 years waking up each day in a prison cell, not knowing if you would ever walk free again. But Mandela did not break. In fact, prison became his classroom of patience, his temple of resilience. He learned to master himself, to control his anger, to see beyond revenge. While the world outside burned in conflict, Mandela cultivated within himself a vision of reconciliation. When he finally walked free in 1990, millions watched. Here was a man who had every reason to come out bitter, but instead, he came out brighter. He did not call for vengeance, he called for unity. And in 1994, Nelson Mandela was elected as South Africa's first black president, ending centuries of oppression under apartheid. What was his lesson to us? It's simple, yet profound. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is strength of the highest order. He showed the world that you can endure suffering, and instead of letting it poison you, you can turn it into fuel for freedom. Mandela once said, "I never lose. I either win or learn." That right there is a philosophy of life. Every failure is a lesson, every setback is a teacher. If Mandela could survive 27 years in a prison cell and still emerge with hope, what excuse do we have for giving up when life gets difficult? Nelson Mandela's life is a reminder that leadership is not about power, it is about sacrifice. It's about serving something greater than yourself. And his story teaches us that no chain, no wall, no oppression is stronger than the human spirit that chooses to rise. And as we move forward in this journey of visionaries, remember his example. Because next we will meet another leader, one who faced an empire not with armies, but with the quiet, unshakable strength of peace, Mahatma Gandhi. Chapter 2, Mahatma Gandhi, the power of nonviolence. From Mandela's South Africa, let us now journey back to India, a land that for centuries had been under colonial rule. Its people were not free to govern themselves, their resources drained, their dignity diminished. Many tried to fight back with violence, but it was a man dressed in the simplest of clothes, a frail figure with a walking stick, who shook the foundations of the greatest empire of the time. That man was Mahatma Gandhi. Born in 1869, Gandhi was not born a warrior. He was not a king, not a soldier, not a wealthy man. He was quiet, shy, and even considered weak in his youth. But within him was a strength greater than weapons, the strength of conviction. Gandhi believed that true change cannot be built on hatred, for hatred only breeds more hatred. He believed in something radical, that one could fight oppression through peace and defeat injustice through love. This philosophy became known as satyagraha, or truth force. To Gandhi, truth was the ultimate weapon, and nonviolence was the path to wield it. Imagine the scene: thousands of Indians, unarmed, walking in protest while soldiers armed with guns and batons stood before them. The world expected bloodshed, but Gandhi taught his people to stand, to endure, to let the blows fall without raising a fist in return. He believed that the oppressor's conscience could be awakened if confronted not with violence, but with unwavering moral strength. One of the most iconic moments was the Salt March of 1930. At that time, the British controlled even the simplest elements of life, like salt. Gandhi and his followers walked 240 miles to the sea, where he bent down, picked up a pinch of salt, and declared independence in the simplest act imaginable. That one act shook the empire to its core. It wasn't just about salt, it was about dignity. It was about showing that no empire can control the spirit of a free people. What can we learn from this? Gandhi proved that you don't need guns to be powerful. You don't need violence to be strong. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to walk forward despite it. But Gandhi's vision was not just for India. His life became a blueprint for freedom movements worldwide. Nelson Mandela himself later said that Gandhi's spirit guided South Africa's struggle. Martin Luther King Jr., whom we will meet later, openly declared that Gandhi's method of nonviolence was the foundation of the American civil rights movement. Gandhi's legacy is also a personal lesson for each of us. In our daily lives, we face conflict, with others, with society, with ourselves. How do we react? With anger? With bitterness? Gandhi's life invites us to rise above the instinct to strike back, and instead to seek peace within and without. He once said, "The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others." Think about that. In a world that tells us to chase wealth, status, and self-interest, Gandhi reminds us that meaning comes not from taking, but from giving. His story shows us that simplicity is not weakness, humility is not insignificance, and peace is not passive. True peace is the most radical act of courage a human can embody. By the time Gandhi's life ended in 1948, he had already transformed the destiny of millions. India was free, but more importantly, the world had been shown a new way of fighting injustice, a way that still inspires movements today. And so, from Mandela's endurance to Gandhi's peace, we see the pattern of visionaries. They redefine strength. Strength is not just muscle or might. Strength is conviction. Strength is patience. Strength is sacrifice. Now, let us turn to a man whose journey was not from colonies or empires, but from the cricket field to the political battlefield. A man whose life is still unfolding in our time, yet whose vision and resilience have already carved him a place among history's greats. Let us talk about PTI Chairman Imran Khan. Chapter 3, PTI Chairman Imran Khan. From cricket champion to national leader. From Gandhi's simplicity, we now arrive at a very different stage. The roaring stadiums of cricket, where the crowd chants in unison, where victory is celebrated like a festival. And in the heart of those stadiums stood a man with unshakable confidence, a man who would later walk off the cricket pitch and step into the arena of leadership. That man is Imran Khan, PTI Chairman. Imran's journey is unlike many others. Born in Lahore in 1952, he grew up with privilege, yet his destiny was not handed to him. He carved it with relentless determination. From an early age, he displayed not only talent, but an iron will. Cricket became his battleground, and the world soon saw that this young Pakistani was no ordinary player. But his true legacy in sports came in 1992, when Pakistan's national cricket team was on the brink of despair in the World Cup. Imran Khan, as captain, rallied his team with a call to fight like cornered tigers. Against the odds, Pakistan lifted the trophy, a moment that became etched in history. It was not just a sporting victory, it was a lesson in belief. Imran showed that even when the world counts you out, you can still rise and win. Yet for Imran, the World Cup was not the end, it was the beginning. While most would bask in glory, he turned to a much greater mission: service to humanity. In 1994, he founded Shaukat Khanum Memorial Cancer Hospital, named after his late mother. At the time, many doubted him. How could a cricketer build a world-class hospital in Pakistan where millions lacked access to treatment? But Imran believed. He went to the people, he knocked on doors, he gave speeches in streets, he raised funds rupee by rupee, and he built it. Today, that hospital stands not as a monument to him, but as a lifeline for countless families. This is a recurring theme in Imran Khan's life. Where others see impossibility, he sees opportunity. In 1996, he entered politics by founding the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, PTI, a movement aimed at justice, fairness, and dignity. At first, people laughed. They said a sportsman could never survive in the brutal world of politics. For years, he struggled, often rejected at the polls, often mocked for dreaming too big. But Imran did not quit. His belief in justice, in accountability, in the idea that nations are built on integrity, these kept him moving forward. In 2018, after more than 2 decades of struggle, he became the Prime Minister of Pakistan. As Prime Minister, his tenure was marked by both immense challenges and notable achievements. The ASAS program, one of the country's largest social welfare initiatives, aimed at lifting millions out of poverty. Sehat Sahulat, providing health cards so ordinary citizens could access medical care. Environmental projects like the Billion Tree Tsunami, which won global recognition. His focus on education, clean governance, and building institutions rather than personalities. But beyond policies and programs, Imran Khan's vision was larger. He spoke to the heart of a nation. He reminded Pakistanis of their potential, of their dignity, of their ability to rise above corruption and despair. Of course, like every visionary, his journey has not been without storms. He has faced criticism, opposition, political challenges, and personal sacrifices. Yet through it all, he has continued to embody the belief he once voiced. You only lose when you give up the fight. Until then, defeat is never permanent. That is the spirit of Imran Khan: resilience, the ability to stand up when knocked down, the ability to dream when mocked, the ability to lead when others hesitate. For millions, he is more than a cricketer, more than a politician. He is a symbol of persistence, a reminder that leadership is not about titles but about refusing to quit. Placed beside Mandela and Gandhi, Imran Khan's story teaches us this. You can be cornered, underestimated, and doubted. But with vision, courage, and faith, you can still rise and change the destiny of not just yourself, but of a nation. And as we carry his lessons forward, let us now step into the story of another dreamer, a man whose words sparked a revolution in the heart of America, a man whose dream still resonates across the world: Martin Luther King Jr. Chapter 4. Martin Luther King Jr. From Lahore and Islamabad, let us now walk to the streets of America in the 1960s, a time when freedom was promised on paper, but denied in practice. In buses, schools, and workplaces, millions of African Americans were told they were less, treated as less, and forced to live as second-class citizens. And in the middle of that injustice rose a preacher, not with weapons, not with armies, but with words that cut deeper than any blade. That preacher was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. was a man of vision, shaped by faith and by the conviction that justice delayed is justice denied. He saw a world where children were judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. He did not just dream this world, he fought for it. He organized marches, led boycotts, and stood before crowds of thousands to speak truth to power. And though the system tried to silence him, King's voice only grew louder. The pinnacle of his message came on August 28, 1963, when he stood before the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., and spoke the words that shook the world. I have a dream. That dream was not just for America. It was a vision for humanity, a vision where love triumphed over hate, where unity defeated division and where freedom was not the privilege of the few, but the birthright of all. King's power was not just in his words, but in his method. Like Gandhi, he believed in nonviolence. He knew that violence might win battles, but it could never win peace. He led by example, showing that the true strength of a leader is not in how loud he shouts, but in how deeply he moves the hearts of people. Even when jailed, even when threatened, even when his life was in danger, King never abandoned his dream. And though he was tragically assassinated in 1968, his legacy did not die with him. His dream became a torch that millions still carry today. So what do we learn from Martin Luther King Jr.? That a dream, when fueled by courage, can outlive the dreamer. That the power of words, when spoken with conviction, can change the direction of history. Now, when we place Mandela, Gandhi, PTI Chairman Imran Khan, and Martin Luther King Jr. side by side, a pattern emerges. These were men from different lands, different times, and different struggles, but their stories teach us the same lesson. Mandela teaches us that patience and forgiveness can dismantle even the strongest chains. Gandhi shows us that peace is more powerful than violence. Imran Khan reminds us that resilience and vision can turn a cricketer into a nation builder. Martin Luther King Jr. proves that a dream can echo through centuries if you dare to speak it. Each of them stood against doubt, against opposition, against impossible odds, and each of them lit a flame that still burns today. The truth is, you don't have to be famous to follow in their footsteps. You don't need to lead a nation to change the world. You just need to begin with one act of courage, one choice of integrity, one refusal to give up. So ask yourself, what is your dream? What is your fight? What is your purpose? Because history is not written only by the great. It is written by the countless ordinary people who choose to live extraordinarily. If these stories moved you, don't let them fade when this video ends. Carry them into your life. Let Mandela's endurance, Gandhi's peace, Imran Khan's resilience, and King's dream live within you. And if you want to walk this journey of wisdom and light with us, join the Quiet Lanterns community. Subscribe, share this video, and tell us in the comments which visionary inspires you most and why. Your words may inspire someone else, and together we can keep these dreams alive.